Hello students, my name is Niyati Said and thanks for watching Wikipedia word videos. My topic for the presentation is the second section of the structural organization in animals, that is connective tissue. Okay, connective tissue are most abundant and widely distributed in the body of complex animals. They are named connective tissue because of their function, a special function of linking and supporting other tissue, other organs of the body. They range from soft connective tissue to specialized connective tissue, which include cartilage, bone, adipose and blood. Okay, so it is most abundant in complex animals. In all connective tissue except blood, the cells secrete collagen or elastin, which provides strength, elasticity and flexibility to the tissues. Okay, the cells, they also secrete modified polysaccharides, which help accumulate between cells and fiber and act as matrix. Okay, I'm again repeating that in all connective tissue except blood is also a connective tissue, but except blood, the cells, they secrete fibers of the structural protein, which we call it as collagen or elastin. The fibers, they provide strength, elasticity and flexibility to the tissues. These cells, they also secrete modified polysaccharides, which accumulate between cells and fibers and they act as matrix. Matrix, we call it as ground substance. Okay, now connective tissue. Connective tissue, they are classified into three types, which are those loose connective tissue, dense connective tissue and specialized connective tissue. Okay, loose connective tissue, they are of two types, which are those areolar tissue and adipose tissue. Second is your dense connective tissue. It is also of two types, which are those dense regular and dense irregular. Then comes specialized connective tissue, which are of three types: cartilage, bone and blood. Okay, first we'll be studying loose connective tissue in detail, which has two parts, which are those areolar and adipose tissue. Okay, now comes loose connective tissue. Loose connective tissue has cells and fibers that they are loosely arranged in a semi-fluid ground substance. For example, areolar tissue, they are present beneath the skin. Often it serves as a support framework for epithelium. It contains fibroblast, macrophages and mast cell. Now comes adipose tissue. They are also located mainly beneath the skins. Okay, and the cell of this tissue, adipocytes, they store fat and excess nutrients, they are converted into fat and stored in this tissue. Okay, or you can say that the more the adipose tissue, the more the fat is there, because they are specialized to store fats. Okay, and the excess of the nutrients, they are also used immediately and are converted into fats, and thus they are stored in these tissues. These are your areolar tissue, these are your mast tissues. Okay, these are their macrophages, which engulf that engulfs the foreign particles like bacteria and viruses. So loose connective tissue has all, which has fibroblast, macrophages, mast cell and fiber, and they are loosely arranged in a semi-fluid ground substance, which we also call it as matrix. Okay, and it has two types, areolar and adipose tissue. Okay, This is your adipose tissue. See, this yellow part is your fat, and it has pushed the nucleus towards the periphery because the fat is too much, and that's the reason fat has pushed the nucleus towards its periphery. Okay, because they are specialized to store fat. Now comes dense connective tissue. Fibers and fibroblasts, they are compactly packed in the dense connective tissue. Okay, and it has two types. Which are those? First is your dense regular and second is your dense irregular. Okay, and it is on the basis of the orientation of the fibers that show regular or the irregular pattern, and that's the reason they are called as dense regular or dense irregular tissues. Okay, now we'll be studying dense regular tissue in detail. In the dense regular connective tissue, the collagen fibers, they are present in rows between many parallel bundle of fibers. As you can see, these are your parallel bundle of fibers, and all collagen fibers, they are present in rows. Tendons and ligaments are the examples of dense regular tissue. Tendons, they help to attach skeletal muscles to bones, and ligaments which attach one bone to another, and they are example of these tissues. Okay, as I have written, tendons that attach skeletal muscles to bone and ligaments that help attach one bone to another. Okay, so these two are the example. Tendon and ligaments are the example of dense regular connective tissue. Now comes dense irregular connective tissue. Irregular pattern of fibroblast and fibers. It is mostly collagen. This tissue is present inside the skin. Okay, inside the skin, or you can say that dense irregular connective tissue has fibroblast and many fibers that are oriented differently, and this tissue is present in the skin. Cartilage, bone, blood, they are the various type of specialized connective tissues. Okay, as I have told you that cartilage, blood, bones, they are called as specialized connective tissues. Cartilage in this the intercellular material is solid and pliable, and it resists compression. Okay, and cells of this tissue, cells of cartilage, is known as chondrocytes. These are your cartilage cells. Okay, they are enclosed in a small cavities. These are your small cavities. See, this is your chondrocyte, which is enclosed inside a cavity within the matrix secreted by. This is your matrix. Okay, and most of the cartilage invertebrate embryos are replaced by bones in adults. Okay, and cartilage is present in the tip of nose, outer ear, joint between the bones of the vertebral column, and limbs in the adult. Okay, now comes bone. Bone is another type of specialized connective tissue, as I have told you. Bones, they have very hard and non-pliable ground substance, which we also call it as matrix, which is rich in calcium salt and collagen fibers, which give bone its strength. Okay, so like cartilage cells, they were known as chondrocyte. Likewise, bone cells are also known as osteocytes. See, it is also enclosed. Okay, and bone cells, they are present in the spaces which we call it as lacunae. These are your lacunae. Okay, and bones are rich in calcium salt and collagen fiber, which give bone its strength. It is the main tissue that provides the structural framework to the body. Bones, they help in support and protect softer tissues and organs of our human body. The bone cells, which we also call it as osteocyte. Okay, they are present in the spaces called lacunae. These are your lacunae. This is your microscopic view. Okay, and this is just the diagrammatic view, that this is your osteocytes, which we also call it as bone cell, and they are enclosed in a spaces which we call it as lacunae. Limb bones such as long bones of the legs, they serve weight bearing functions. They also interact with skeletal muscles which attach to them to bring about movements. Okay, and the bone marrow in some bone is the site for the production of the blood cells. Okay, now let's see its function. That it, of course, it provides a structural framework of the body. Why? Because it is rich in calcium salt and collagen fiber, which give bones its strength. And that's the reason it is the main tissue that provides a structural framework to the body. Bones, they support and protect softer tissue and the organs. This is the another function. Okay. Then limb bones, they serve weight bearing functions. They take part in locomotion and movement. And it has bone marrow also, which are you can say that bone marrows, they are present only in some bones, is the site for the production of the blood cells. Blood is your another type of specialized connective tissue which we'll be studying just after bone. Okay. Now comes third specialized connective tissue, which we call it as blood. Blood is also connective tissue. Okay, this is very important from your exam point of view, that blood is a fluid connective tissue that contains plasma, RBC, which we call it as red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Okay, and it is the main circulating fluid that helps in the transport of the various substances. Okay, and this is your these are the components of the blood: RBC, WBC, and platelets. Okay, now comes muscular tissue. Each muscular tissue or each muscle cell is made up of many long cylindrical fibers which are arranged in parallel arrays. Okay, which we call it as microfibrils. These are the fibers that are composed of numerous fine fibrils. Muscle fibers, they contract in response to stimulation, and they can also relax and return to their uncontracted state in a coordinated fashion. Okay, and muscles are also help in taking part in locomotion and movement along with the bones. Okay, so you can say that muscle fiber, they contract in response to the stimulation and then relax and return back to their uncontracted state in a coordinated fashion, and their action moves the body to adjust to the changes in the environment and to maintain the position of the various parts of the body. In general, muscles, they play an active role in all movements of the body. Okay, and muscle cells, they are of three types. Which are those three types? First is your skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. Okay, first, as I have told you that it is of three types: skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. Skeletal muscles, they are also known as striated or voluntary muscles, and smooth, they are also known as non-striated or visceral muscle. Okay, now we will be studying skeletal muscle in detail. Skeletal is also known as striated voluntary muscles. It is skeletal muscle tissue is closely attached to skeletal bones. In a typical muscle such as biceps, Striated skeletal muscle fiber, they are bundled together in a parallel function, just like this. They are arranged in a parallel fashion. And a sheet of a tough connective tissue encloses several bundles of these fibers. Okay, that means they are enclosed in a sheet-like structure, sheet of tough connective tissue. Okay, that encloses these muscle fibers. This is your bicep, which are attached to the skeletal bones. These are the skeletal muscles that are attached to the skeletal bones, for example biceps. Now comes a smooth muscle fiber. They are also known as non-striated or visceral muscle. Involuntary and fusiform fibers, they taper at both the ends and they do not show striation. Are they showing any lines or what? No, and that's the reason they show no striations. Okay, cell junctions, they hold them together and they are bundled together in a connective tissue sheet. Okay, and the walls of the internal organs such as blood vessels, stomach, intestine, they contain this type of muscle tissue. Smooth muscles, they are involuntary as their functioning cannot be directly controlled. Okay, so they are and where they are seen in the internal organs such as blood vessels, stomach and intestine. Okay, and these are the cell junctions which hold them tightly together and they are bundled together in a connective tissue sheet. Okay, and of course they have nucleus in it. Now comes cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscle tissue is a contractile tissue which is present only in the heart. Remember students, I have taught you that cardiac muscles are present in the heart when I taught you the heart structure. So they are present in the heart and they are, you can say that they are very contractile in nature, and cell junction, they fuse the plasma membrane of the cardiac muscle cells and make them stick together, just like this, that they both are stick together. Communication junctions at some fusion points, they allow the cells to contract as a unit. That is, when one cell receives a signal to contract, its neighbors are stimulated to contract. That means cascade is formed. Okay, and this is how communication takes place between two cardiac cells, and it is all due to intercalated disc. Okay, these are your intercalated disc. These are the junction between the adjacent cells which allow the cells to contract as a unit. That is, when one cell receives a signal to contract, its neighbor cells, they also contract. Okay, now comes neural tissue. Neural tissue, they exert a greatest control over the body's responsiveness to changing conditions. Okay, and neurons, they are the unit of the neural system. They are excitable cells. Okay, they are for control and coordination. They are protected and supported by neuroglial cells. Neuroglia, it makes up 1/2 the volume of the neural tissue. When one neuron is stimulated, an electrical disturbance, which we call it as impulse or action potential, is generated, and that travels along its plasma membrane. Okay, so let's see its diagram. Nerve fiber with a nerve cell. Okay, and see, there are many kinds of nerve fiber. Multipolar nerve cells, bipolar nerve cells, unipolar nerve cells, and this is the structure of the nerve cells, or you can say neuron. This is your cyton. Okay, these are your dendrites. This is your axon, and this is your another neuron, and they are connected with the dendrite of the second neuron with the axon of the first neuron. Okay, so this is how, when a neuron is suitably stimulated, an electrical disturbance, or you can say action potential, is generated, which swiftly travels along its plasma membrane. An arrival of the disturbance at the neuron endings or output zone, it triggers event that may cause stimulation or inhibition of the adjacent neurons. Okay, now comes organ and organ system. Tissue we have studied. Now tissue, they organize to form organ, which in turn associate to form organ system in the multicellular organism. Such an organization is essential for more efficient and better coordinated activities. Coordinated activities of millions of cells that constitute an organism. Each organ in our body is made up of one or more type of tissue. For example, our heart consists of 4 types of tissue. Which are those? For example, epithelial, connective, muscular, and neural. Okay, so this helps in the better coordinated cellular activity, and this is how it works. And in case of the animals, this refers to the external appearance of the organ or the parts of the body. Okay, we are not going into the anatomy of it, but for the time being, just know that how organ and the organ systems are made with the help of tissue that work in a same direction or in the coordinated fashion, and such an organization is essential for efficient and better coordinated activities of millions of the cells that constitute an organism. Okay, so this was all about the other 3 tissues. First was your connective tissue, second is your muscular tissue, and third is your neural tissue. So this comes to an end. In the next section of my presentation, we'll be studying about the earthworm, its morphology and anatomy. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Edipedia Word videos.